Welcome to the Nailed It Wall.
Welcome to this episode of the Nailed It Wall. I'm Mr. Lane, the STEM guy.
And I'm Miss Scofield.
And I'm Brett Humphrey.
All right, it's episode 70. We've been on a hiatus. Your students have fired us up to get back into podcasting.
True.
We got our main man, a.k.a. Radial Bone, in the house all the way from Wisconsin.
Literally in the house.
And we're fired up to bring the podcast back every week. We're doing a 2-part series with my main man here. And to get started, Brett, give us a little background of who you are.
Well, I have goosebumps. I'm so glad to be here. This is exciting. I've never done a podcast. I'm Brett Humphrey. I'm a principal of a school in Wisconsin, and I do principal things at that school.
All right.
Yeah, so long I can give you all the details, Rob. But
all right. Well, give us a little background to your story in education. Where did you start teaching? What do you teach? How did you become a principal?
Well, I come from a family of educators. Is what is kind of the subconscious part. And I didn't plan on it when I went to college, but I landed there, and I'm so grateful I did. I think that's something that when I was in college, you go there and you're figuring yourself out. And I found that education was a passion of mine, and helping people and being there for students and being of service to our communities. And I found education. I'm blessed to do that. So yeah, I went through the process, and then, you graduate, which was you get to that point, and then what? And where are you going to go? You can go anywhere. And I landed in Arizona, Phoenix, small town in Arizona called Phoenix. Heard of it?
I've heard of it.
Yeah, and got a job as a third grade teacher. I was so excited, did that, and then I found opportunities for leadership. I was an athletic director, technically, of a small middle school, and I found that I loved I found that I liked organizational leadership. So I loved teaching; it was great, but I really loved the big picture view of things. I loved being able to affect the culture and climate of an organization. Very similar to any company, I see it as an entity that needs a strong culture and climate. And in the principal role, I didn't just go from teaching to principal. I became an instructional coach. I was an assistant principal for 6 years, and then I landed in the principal role. I've been doing that for 5 years. But I love the aspect of I can have a big impact on the whole system, all the systems, and find where the fire might be and be there in the fire to help put it out and make whatever is a problem better, and I have a passion for that. So I love teaching, and I respect that. I loved coaching. I love the assistant principal role, but I love the organizational leadership of the whole picture.
Man, that was a great description.
I know.
He told us he was nervous coming on here.
Yeah, that was incredible. Are you going to try
I
and
was
do a
only
mic
nervous
drop?
about where to
I
put
couldn't
my
tell you.
arms and hold the mic.
Well, I'm not sure that's the place right there, but
Video podcast is coming soon. That's
Yeah.
the next thing we want to get to.
I'll practice where to put my arms when you do the video podcast.
All right.
It won't be as awkward.
One of our favorite people in the world is Radial Bone, a.k.a. Brett Humphrey. We have a lot of laughs, talk a lot about life. I mean, we're having a hard time just keeping a straight face here. We can't tell if he's a comedian or if he actually is a principal of a school.
I think he's both.
Now, you've talked about, I think he's pantomiming over here.
Well, he's just really. I wish we could.
I
show
can't
the
hear
audience.
you in the mic anymore.
Oh,
We have some,
I'm really good at this, aren't I?
yeah.
I feel like I'm doing great.
Well, we gave you that compliment, and then you just started moving your arms around and pulling wires and kind of doing your thing there.
At least I'm dressed nice.
Now, we always like, we want to get back to having people on the pod and like sharing their stories. Now, is there a teacher that kind of stuck out to you that, again, he's still playing with wires.
Struggle.
Yeah, the struggle bus is here. Is there a teacher that you remember that had a big impact on you?
Well, there's several, and I think one thing I learned in education is it's not about telling people what to do and they do it. and we go home. It's about inspiring people. It's about finding the strengths in everyone's got some sort of superpower, and I think it's a teacher's job. It's my job. It's us as educators, and just honestly good people, is finding the superpower in people. There's not like somebody who's really good and then the group that's not good. Everyone's got a superpower, and oftentimes the superpower can be in the thing that you struggle with the most, or something you went through that was very difficult, or in hard times or difficult times. Often is the you build resilience to whatever skill emerges, and I think it's our job to find that superpower with all of our students and in each other as teammates and as an organization, and serve our community. I think service is the important thing. I often say I don't work at Park Elementary, or didn't work in Levine, Arizona. I served that community, and I served the staff as principal, and I served the students, and I served my teammates. So I think service is important to me. So any teachers that did that for me, I could name a whole list of them. I was pretty good at writing, and I noticed that Mrs. Gullicksrud, and I think I was a sophomore. I didn't know I was good at writing, but she really gave me confidence. She really told me I was really good at that, and there was classes. Math wasn't my favorite. I wasn't the best in math, and I didn't enjoy it as much. I went to did what I had to do to do the what was asked of me, but it was, and so I think building people up in what they're really good at and not looking at what they're not good at, because I think we all are, we're all good at something, and it's our job. So, and I remember, I think back to even the teachers that really encouraged me. I remember I had a teacher who I tested head in math, and I didn't love math. I'm like, I think you got the wrong guy in that test. Are you sure it was me? Because I don't know why I tested ahead in that, but I didn't love it. I wasn't something I was passionate about. I loved English classes and writing, but I think a lot about my math teachers, and there was a teacher who was also my track coach that I think a lot about. He was always encouraging me, he's like, come in a little early, come in a little late. I was like, I got open gym. I'm going to be in the NBA someday, So I didn't actually follow through on but I appreciated, and I didn't realize this till I was in education as an educator doing what he was doing, but he modeled for me. Even though I didn't do what I was supposed, totally went to open gym instead of, but he kept trying, and he didn't give up. And that was a lesson I learned. Like, it didn't matter that it wasn't at the time, he's bummed out, but it impacted me, that he kept trying. And he's like, you can do this if you just try, and if you put a little effort into it. Like, you can literally do anything you want if you just put the time in, and I think he taught me that lesson. And he was my track coach too, so that he was such a phenomenal coach. He made me I wasn't an amazing. Amazing is the wrong word to use as an athlete, but he made me better. He made me do things on the track that I didn't ever think I could do. I went to state in the hurdles, and I didn't believe I was going to go to the NBA. Well, just joking, but as a kid, you think that, and he
that was my dream as well.
Yeah, I think it was all of our dreams, but
No, it wasn't mine. Yeah.
No, yeah. Well, you were probably closer than me and Rob, Mr. Lane were. But yeah, I think of those two teachers. I mean, and I tell you the story about I didn't follow through on my end, but he kept coming to me, and he believed in me if I would do the work, and he didn't have to he'd have to come into work early to be with me, and I appreciated that, and I think a lot about that.
Yeah, that was another great answer. I mean, I'm inspired. Bone has us fired up, sharing these stories.
Truly.
Some of these stories I haven't heard. A lot of these stories I have heard over the times. I mean, he's taking a sip right now.
Yeah.
He's getting fired up.
Refilled.
What do you want to ask Bone about the principal life?
What has been your biggest challenge?
I think my biggest challenge, I think people don't get into education. It's a hard job. I mean, it is not easy.
#truth.
Every day. I mean, that is something I remind myself. I haven't been in the classroom. This is 19th year. I've been in administration for It's been 12 years, right? So I go and teach, like this year I went in and taught out of the new curriculum, and you know what, I was not as good of a teacher as the teacher in the classroom. I honestly wasn't trying to like show them how to do it. I was just in the fire with them. So I think my biggest challenge is I love the word innovation. So like giving, failing forward, having the freedom to know you can take a risk somewhere and if it doesn't work out, I'm not a big deal. Like I think sometimes as a leader, you can get caught up in like what the rule book says, what the handbook says, but you got to think about the people. And I think every educator, if you're getting into education, you want to be there for people, you want to serve your community. And so my challenge is always, some days I leave work and I'm like, man, I might be the best principal in the world. And then the next day I'll go home and I'm like, I don't know if I'm cut out for this, and that I've learned that's just part of the deal, And so I think when I can't get, if it's me that stops somebody from feeling like they can fail forward or try something new or innovate, I need to check myself. But I think it's important that educators do that. And if you don't have that mindset, I think that can be a challenge for me. And if I can't reach a colleague or a teacher or whoever to, think outside the box, or, I think evolving and innovating are important things that I love. I think I just don't want to see people just doing the same thing day in, day out, like we're on an assembly line. That's not what education is. Education is about seeing what the world changes day to day, week to week, month to month. And
AI.
What's that? Just joke. Okay.
Wait,
Can we tell jokes on this?
Of course we can.
He wants to look for the
yeah,
thing.
that's a great example. Like, you can't not use it. It's a part of our culture. We have to actually, that's a great example of we can't avoid it. It's coming. It's here. Well, it's not coming. It's here. And our students will be using it. Our students will be. And so that's where we can get stuck. When the world goes faster than a mindset, I think is important.
All right, I want to steal one more question. Is that okay?
Go right ahead.
All right, so to be transparent, to be honest, education has been the state is a bit dire right now. It's taken kind of a downward dip. A lot of stuff in politics have really, undercut a lot of things that teachers have been working hard to achieve over the years, and progress and innovation, you said. And I feel like it's kind of a, almost like a gray period right now where there's just been a lot of difficult things for teachers that are, that have been in education and have seen where things could be. So what, from your perspective, is something that's like an exciting time in education? Like, what are the good things that are happening? What are the good things that are on the horizon for education from your perspective?
Yeah, I think my answer to that would be there's if we're, I don't know what, if we're in a gray period, I'll take your word for it. I trust you. I guess maybe it's blind optimism, maybe it's naiveness, maybe I don't want to see the tough stuff. I mean, I see the tough stuff, I get it, but I know I've been in education for 19 years, right? And I've lived life, right, for 40, whatever. I won't tell you how. I don't want to think about
We'll keep it
how
off the record.
Yeah, off the record. But just in life, it ebbs and flows. Like one day you're like, just like I said about one day you're like, life is just so great, and then bam, you get, reality hits you hard, bro. I heard that on a video. I thought that's funny, but it sticks with me. Like all of a sudden, reality hits you, and that pendulum swings one way, and I watched it swing the other. So wherever we're at, and that's where innovation and freedom to think outside the box is really important, because oftentimes when you're in that gray area, whether it's a couple years, or whether it's a day-to-day thing, or it's policy, or it's this or that, thinking futuristically, having a futuristic mindset is so important, because you don't have to stay. We all can impact, whether it's legislation or it's policy in your school. You can change wherever you are. A lot of times you talk about like the nationwide broad scope of like politics or education reform or whatever, but the most important thing is your local government. You're talking to your school board and having ideas on how things can change, and not making it a contentious thing like us against them, or they did this to us, and you can feel it. But if you're a person who has, you don't have to have the answers, but you work towards a solution, and you talk to people, and getting perspectives of people who don't think like you or want something different, and understanding others' perspectives is really important to getting through those tough periods. And then all of a sudden it's like a sunshiny day after a huge storm comes through that, knocked over a tree in your front yard. and then you're like, man, and then, you get rid of the tree, you clean it up because it's, messed up your lawn. And you're like, you know what, actually, I can see the sunset now without that tree. I'm going to plant a new tree over here. And now I see the sunset every night. It's like, a lot of times good, really cool things come out of really difficult times. I think about my life, just stuff that's happened to me. It's no different than anybody else's life, traumas or, family stuff or work stuff, Now that I've like gotten to this point in life, I have some experience behind me and I can speak to a life lived. I'm better for a lot of the things that were really horrible at the time and I wish didn't happen to me, that I didn't have control of. But they made me stronger, I've learned. So I'm somebody who doesn't get too caught up in whatever a narrative is. But I'm also realistic that it hurt. Sometimes people are hurting when things aren't good. I am not oblivious to that, but I don't think about who did what to who. It's about how can I impact and serve the community, or have an idea, or who can I talk to be of change, and in a positive way. Like, I hope that answers some of that question, and I hope the tree thing made sense. I don't know where that came from. But yeah,
we were on a ride, and I just said, "Buckle up."
I feel like it was rooted in truth.
Are we supposed to wear?
Well played. I need the laugh track.
Ouch.
Wrong button there.
Yeah.
That hurts. Bone could not even hear the sound effect. Is this the laugh button? No. There's the laugh button. Green is the laugh button.
Go.
All right, now
I like the want. I hope I don't get a want.
All right. Well, you know what? You are here, and I can't believe this is his first podcast. Like, he's been trying to put it off. Like, he's been trying to push us through his secretary, his PR agents, and he just came on just being vulnerable, being real with us, telling us what is it like to be on the other side. Now, today you had an amazing day, just visiting with your Levine peeps, and how is that? How is your roots in education in Arizona impacted you now that you're in Wisconsin?
Great question.
Yeah, super question. It's too hard for me to answer, Mr. Lane.
Well, I know you.
You're just so good at questions.
I know you're going to knock it out of the park.
I just got super. No, I visiting. I left Arizona in 2022, and I didn't want to go. I moved back to the state that I was originally from. I think the family pull finally got me.
Well, then let's just recognize that you grew up on a farm. What kind of farm did you grow up on?
I grew up on a 400-acre dairy farm. We had cows, and they made milk, and you get cheese, and that is how that went. So yeah, I grew up. I grew up in a very rural area. I loved it. I wouldn't change it for the world, But when you grow up in a farm, like, you don't travel a lot. You don't leave the farm. It's a 24/7 job, right? And I loved it, man. I'd walk outside, and there's a creek that I went through, and I learned quickly you cannot ride your bike down a creek, the sand under, whatever. Anyway, you experience and you learn and silly things that you get yourself into a pickle in the woods. And, I learned a lot of valuable lessons. I learned what hard work is. I learned what it is like to, wake up for chores before school, get on a bus. I tried to be in every sport possible, so I didn't have to do chores at night. That
Brilliant.
was genius.
Well played.
Yeah.
I know how that works. But yeah, I learned that, but I went to college, did that whole bit, kind of close to home. It was a city of 20,000 people, and that was pretty big to me. I didn't have a stoplight because I didn't live in an actual town, but man, we had a community in that area. Everyone was there for each other. Our barn burnt down, and when I was, I think, in kindergarten, and every day there was food brought to our house. There was like cars all over the place. There's people I had no idea who they were. They were always at our house because they were there for it. People were there. Somebody loaned our barn so we could put our cows in their barn and keep bringing in income. Farming's a business, and there's a bottom line, and you need a barn. Okay, that's a big part of farming.
Another sage wisdom here.
And I don't. It was valuable, that lesson, but also. And I don't know why I chose Phoenix. I think I was excited to try something new, and and I did an interview, and they gave me a job, and I was super excited because $30,000 salary.
Whoa, you're
I was
overpaid.
like, I am rich.
Yeah.
And that was my starting salary, actually.
At what point did you realize you were not rich?
Well,
your money probably stretched better then, though.
I was richer. We'll say that. I don't think it's about not about money. Like I don't think I'd want to do anything else or be in any other organizational system. Education is where I see I can add the most value to society and the world. And it was really cool that I chose Phoenix, Arizona, because I had no idea about what Phoenix. Didn't know Phoenix. Like I'd never been there. I literally did not come here until 2 weeks before new teacher orientation. And it was the best thing I ever did. It got me into a new spot where I could use what I learned growing up in a rural area on a farm. I didn't get to go to the I couldn't go to the park, and I had to get a ride, 15 minutes to a park, and all of a sudden I'm in this huge metro area, one of the biggest cities in the world. And I had to figure out, how to be of service to my school, and it is different, and it's not better, it's not worse. That's where I don't like if somebody says anything negative about small towns, I defend the small towns. If anyone says anything bad about my Phoenix, I defend Phoenix. There's such goodness in all. So
even after all the heat we've had this last week, you've been drinking a lot of water.
Yeah. There's been a lot of water consumed. My body's adjusting to 110 with I don't know. You're putting the top down to air my eyes out. I don't know what that was all about. And I'm like, it's hot, man.
It's another level.
What I learned
it was
from
only 90. It was only 90.
90. No, it was 95 because I thought you were going 95, and it was the temperature. And that was like 9 a.m. So anyway, I landed in Phoenix, and I'm somebody that I think I'm somebody that likes to get out of their comfort zone a little bit. I didn't understand what poverty was. I didn't understand what wealth was, and how those two are a bit of a, I don't know, there's the whole gamut here. When you're in a rural area, it doesn't seem like anyone's super rich or super impoverished. It's like you don't know, I guess, in a way, But boy, I learned quickly that when you're in a high poverty area, it can be. It's not. You go to Scottsdale and you're like, I've never seen a Lamborghini before, and then you look up what one costs, like, what are they? Wow, and then you see people that are displaced and living in really difficult situations. I didn't know some people went through what they went through, right? Like, I've been through hard stuff. I am not as strong and tough as some of the students that I've served, and the things that I've watched people go through. Just there's so many people, and there's so many walks of life, and there's so many different, people are coming from other countries, and they're trying to make a life for their kids. They're not even worried about their lives. They're worried about coming here and making a better life for their kids. I mean, what a selfless, I didn't actually conceptualize this. I didn't understand what bias was. I didn't understand what I'm in a place where there's all these different languages being spoken. Where I grew up, there's a lot more animals around me than people, right? And so I fell in love with different cultures. I'm married into a Lebanese family, so I have a father-in-law who is an immigrant from, was escaping a war in another country, and went through Central America, and then got a job in Mexico, and then got a visa to go to NAU, became an engineer, owned 2 restaurants in Boston. And I'm like, I've done nothing in my life. I mean, I can't even fathom that. Like, I've had such a charm, and we're not rich by any means. We're not even in the middle. I mean, we're just, getting by like everyone else when I was growing up. I just can't fathom my hometown getting blown up and having to figure out, do I stay or do I go? And not speaking a language and having to learn. And, he knows, Spanish, French, English, probably another language. I got English down pretty good, I think,
You're decent.
Yeah.
And so,
give it time.
I mean, just the different just the amazing people. One thing I learned is wealth does not have much to do with talent. Like, whatever you're born into, whatever situation you're born into. So my goal when I was serving a high number of students in poverty was to, find their superpower and give them the opportunities that maybe they're not just given, right? Like, my daughters, get piano lessons, right? Like, I spend a lot of money on those piano lessons because I want them to have that experience, or maybe it's a sport or whatever. Some people are trying to find food. Some people are finding a house. Hurricanes happen in this, south, and all of a sudden we got to find some. Phoenix has this opportunity for housing. Let's go there. People are trying to just survive out there, and some people have a lot. And what I learned, we changed our school to Trailside Point Performing Arts Academy, and we made sure every student had access to a instrument and access to lessons. They got, if they chose, say, in 4th grade, all 3rd graders played the ukulele. So all students were exposed to music, which we found a lot of kids stuck with it. A lot more than I thought. You got 120 kids, and all of a sudden you got 60 students in your 4th grade orchestra. Like, we might need 2 orchestra teachers, And there's some amazingly talented people out there if they're just given a chance, And some people are born where they never knew their parents, and they're being raised by their grandparents who have cancer and are elderly, I mean, wow. And so, but they're equally as talented, whether it's athletics or, I'm talking outside the classroom. I mean, the classroom is the obvious thing, but like, what outside really drives them. And, I think we have students that have gone to D1 schools. We've had students that, have become gone out to California and got into acting and made it and did it. Like, are successful, and who knows if we had a theater program, and I take all the credit for that success.
Yeah, obviously, yeah.
I think the important thing, and also, like, I think it's important at the adult level. It's one thing to serve students, but like, having a good culture and climate is so important, because students know if we're getting along as adults or not. Students know when there's that gray period. They feel it, right? They're perceptive, especially if you've one thing I learned in education coming to, like, I just thought everyone went to school and they liked going to school and they trusted their teacher and their teacher's nice. And I thought all the kids would like me. My jokes would land. And I found out quickly that not everyone trusts schools. Not everyone trusts the police. Not everyone trusts teachers. Not everyone trusts, whatever it is, I thought was good. Not everyone perceives it that way. And as a teacher, I learned quickly that I need to build relationships and trust. And that was a really neat lesson that I think goes to adults too. Like, we as adults need to be on the same page and do our best to be innovative and be problem solvers and not get stuck in the mud with the problem, right? I credit Levine for that.
What's the analogy count at? I mean, we must be at 7, 8. Have you been keeping track?
No.
Okay, I mean, these have been great analogies there, and I love that you went on. I mean, I think you did the Loop 101 4 times before giving Levine the shout out there about like what you've brought back to Wisconsin. And
I did have to remind myself to answer your question.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah,
I like to build it up and then I forget where I was going.
Yeah,
Sometimes
I
actually ended up in Tucson accidentally. I came back to Tempe. I'm heading back to Levine.
You got on the 17 South and you came back up here.
Boy, people drive fast here.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
I mean, that was just, I mean, we went for a ride, you know, and this is the most serious Radial Bone has ever been for 30 minutes. And this is us handcuffing him because he was acting a fool when we got started. And the fact that we got him to kind of sit down there and share that with us. That was part 1. You're going to want to stay tuned for part 2, where we kind of give Radial Bone a little more freedom to be himself. But I enjoyed listening to those stories, and I feel inspired, and I love how much he's taken away from the Grand Canyon State and bringing it back to the Dairy State.
Did I get a job as a professional podcaster?
I mean, I think he's.
Oh, this isn't an Okay, never mind. Yeah, do your thing.
Yeah, that was
that joke didn't land.
You know, the laugh
gave
track.
Gave it to me. All right. Okay.
You know what? I'm gonna give you. You've been wanting the. Oh no, where's the womp? Nailed.
Oh yeah, you got to give a one. That was bad.
There we go. All right. I mean, we got to fire that soundboard technician here. That's part 1. The podcast is back, people. It feels so good. Miss Scofield has been doing some amazing things with her students last year and already starting this year with podcasting. Bone is starting it with Wisconsin. He's got the equipment. We're teaching him the ropes here, and I mean, I'm just blown away. But as we always say, if you can be anything, be kind. Check us out on our socials. You can find me on X. Search me up at Mr. Lane, the STEM guy. If you like this podcast, we're on Buy Me a Coffee. Find me at Mr. Lane, the STEM guy on Buy Me a Coffee, wherever you listen to your podcast. But part 1 with Radial Bone.